Welcome, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's the bold new face of the 6th generation Honda CRV that was new for 2023 last year. And if you're considering one of these, there's a lot of valuable stuff that you need to know before you spend $30,000 to $40,000 on one of these compact crossover SUVs. And so today I get to show you all of it. We're gonna do a walk around, go through the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 on GPS, and then my final thoughts to help you decide, what do you do with the all-new Honda CRV? Do you buy it? Do you leave it at the lot? Maybe look at the other competition, like the Toyota Rav4, the Subaru Forester, or the Mazda CX-5? Well, we're gonna find out. Big thanks to Twin Falls Subaru for letting me borrow this slightly used one for the day, and let's dive right in with this review. If you're new to the CRV, you should know that it's classified as a sub-compact crossover, and the first generation started back in 1995. Honda actually states that CRV stands for comfortable runabout vehicle, but I always knew it as can't resist vehicle. At least that's what the salesman told my mom when she bought one almost 20 years ago, which to date, it's been trouble-free. So this is the beginning of the 6th generation that started last year for 2023, and a base LX starts at just under $30,000. There are 6 trim levels. This one specifically is an EXL, and it starts at just under $35,000 before destination delivery and any extra goodies that you want. But you know what's kind of sad, guys, is it comes as a 2-wheel drive, and if you want an all-wheel drive configuration, you're gonna have to shell out an extra 1,500 bucks. So here's where things get interesting. Honda is a Japanese company, and those other 3 competitors I previously mentioned are also Japanese companies, but the CRV seems to start at a few $1,000s more than the base model of those other competitors. And I think the theory is because this is a top safety pick, plus it has a whole boatload of active and passive safety features to help you avoid accidents, but also it's a 5-star crash test rated vehicle, so if you unfortunately ever were in an accident, you would survive. At least I hope so. At least I hope you wouldn't be hurt. And the idea is, if you aren't in an accident, if you keep this for 20+ years like my mom has so far, you may never buy another Honda product. So I think Honda wants to get their money up front to keep them in business. There's a reason why over 300,000 people buy the CRV every single year in North America, or almost every single year, but it's also a global platform. So it's assembled in multiple places throughout the world because it's sold in a lot of markets, a lot of different countries throughout the world. For instance, this model sold in China is actually named the Honda Breeze. It's no longer the CRV, likely because it's a breeze to drive a Honda. It's a very versatile vehicle, and it gets pretty decent gas mileage even in the non-hybrid configuration. So as long as you're not a hardcore off-roader, which I think very few Honda owners probably are, a vehicle like this should work with most people or small families' lifestyle, which is what Japanese cars are known for. Unlike American cars, which are big and self-centered, boasting class-leading specs, which in most cases are their downfall in reliability. If you're wondering what makes this example worth $35,000 on the EXL, it includes a lot of standard features like the power liftgate, leather seats, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It has the bigger 9-inch screen and a bunch of parking sensors. As for the nitty-gritty specs, the way this one is configured, it weighs about 3,600 pounds. It has a payload capacity of about 850 pounds. When equipped with a tow package, it can tow up to 1,500 pounds. And then it's about 15.5 feet long with an 8.8-foot wheelbase, roughly 6 feet wide and 5.5 feet tall. The ground clearance is just under 8 inches. It has an actual pretty aggressive final drive ratio at 5.64, and then it can do a full circle in 37 feet, which is about average for a CUV. The last things to mention out here before I'm allowed to hop inside and show you the interior is it has a locking gas door. So no one's gonna be siphoning your gas if you lock your car when you leave it. Otherwise, when you unlock it, it's easy to open. It's a 14-gallon tank. The way this one's configured as a non-hybrid, it's about 28 city, about 34 highway. So your max road trip and range is almost 450 miles. And then it has a 235, 60, 18, but it only has a temporary spare in the back, not a full size. And then this is your remote. Lock, unlock, remote start, power liftgate, panic button. Leave that thing in your pocket because you have proximity key features to lock and unlock the vehicle. I have a confession for you guys. I already mentioned this one was lightly used with a couple thousand miles, but because it's probably gonna sell fast, maybe even before this video is uploaded, which if it isn't, I'll link this in the description below, but it hasn't gone through detailing yet. So you're gonna see what a few thousand miles of wear, tear, and crumbs on the floor look like. Otherwise, the door panel of this one has kind of the hard plastics. You can hear that knocking, different materials, kind of like a lunar moon landing surface, but you do have memory seats, all of your power controls, an average sized handle, soft armrest, door card, again that kind of hard material, and then CRV basic speakers, bottle holder snacks. It doesn't extend very far though. Nothing on the door sill other than a piece of plastic, cloth mats, rubberized pedals, hood release, traction control, power liftgate, ventilation, lighting, and then your power heated seats with the sunroof up top. Sitting inside here, it's really human-centric. It's easy to find a comfortable position, although I don't like that the steering wheel doesn't go up or down, it only telescopes. So the wheel kind of covers the infotainment screen unless you really lower the seating position. Otherwise, the horn is a very high-pitched, standard Honda. You have voice and volume controls on the left, adaptive cruise settings on the right. It is leather-wrapped, but not heated. And when you fire it up with the push-button start, it roars to life. The needles do a theatrical display, and then the all-digital screen on this one is actually pretty cool. The 9-inch screen does a pretty good job. I like that it doesn't cut into your visibility, and then these joystick-style vents throughout are actually pretty cool. I am glad that on this new generation, Honda kept physical HVAC buttons, USB-A and C 12-volt wireless charging, some extra storage. It actually goes pretty far back, which I'm happy about. Drive mode, this is kind of funny. You only have normal, eco, or snow. I guess if you want sport mode, you can drop it down there. Otherwise, auto start stop, vehicle descent control, electronic parking brake, and auto vehicle hold. So the backup camera is actually pretty large, but it's kind of grainy. It's not the best clarity, and I would expect a little bit better. But at least it's large, and I apologize for the protective screen on top. That makes it look even worse on camera. It does have pretty good options. And then you have some cup holders and basically what looks like a CD tray right there, or maybe a pencil holder. Otherwise, you have a pretty good size center console, but no plugins down there. Up top, you have auto-dimming mirrors. You have blind spot monitoring on the side. And then you have some basic lights up here. They are LED. You have controls for your power moonroof, and then you have a place to store your sunglasses. And then incandescent lighting on the mirror when you're checking yourself out, and if you pull that off, it does slide pretty good. Otherwise, let's turn it off. Let's hop in the back. And then the rear driver's side door panel follows all the same theme and design language. A very uniform design to the front. Same, basically nothing on the door sill. This is the 60 split, it drops easy. The child safety tethers are on the back, and the seats lower when the seats are down. But when they're up, you could actually store a little bit of stuff under there. Just be careful you don't drop the seats on top of them. And then at 5'11", I have this much room in front of my knees. I can pretty easily recline the back pretty decently, actually, better than a Subaru Forester. So that's pretty impressive. And then you have a center armrest with some cup holders where they should be in the center, so you can fit your arm and your double cups. Otherwise, ventilation, but nothing else down here. And that's a pretty good view in the back of the CRV. Let's hop out and I'll show you the hatch. The rear of the CRV is pretty bland, pretty basic, but for a lot of people, that's not gonna age poorly, which is a good thing. Otherwise, there's 4 ways to access the hatch. You can either push the button that's on the dashboard, climb through the back seats, push the button underneath the Honda emblem, or use the remote, like I'm gonna do. The back of the CRV is one of the areas that it really outshines the competition. You have 39 cubic feet of room back here, and while the whole vehicle is under 16 feet, that's actually quite impressive. But when you drop the seats, which you don't have handles to do, but if you're long enough, you should be able to reach them and lower them that way, you have about 76 cubic feet. You have a little bit of storage behind the wheel wells. You have LED lighting and a 12-volt, and then a temporary spare tire underneath the rear floor with enough room that you could hide a blanket, a fix-a-flat kit, maybe a small air compressor or something else. So comment below what you're gonna hide down there. Otherwise, power liftgate to lower it just as easily. The rear passenger side has nothing new, no surprises. This is the 40 split. It drops just as easily and also reclines. And then there's your map pocket for your designated backseat driver. It's worth mentioning that if you unlock your CRV and you forget to go into it, it'll self-lock shortly after. Otherwise, if you're fortunate enough to ride shotgun, you do have proximity key features to lock and unlock again. The door panel is all the same theme as the other doors, minus some of the controls and the memory seats that the driver gets. Nothing on the door sill. Leather heated powered seats. My backpack's having a good time. No extra storage on the transmission tunnel like some other crossovers offer, or above the glove box, but it is locking. But it's small. It's only big enough for your needs, not your wants, and I don't see any plugins in there. But with that said, let's close the door. Let's come around to the front of the bold face of the new CRV. I'll pop the hood and I'll show you what the little turbo engine looks like. Under the hood, you can actually see after just a few thousand miles that it's pretty filthy. I really wish Honda went the route of adding some weather stripping around the hood like they do on my Mazda Miata. But overall, this is a really stout little 1.5 liter turbo engine. Induction side on the front, turbo right down there, kind of hidden away under the baffling and the exhaust heat shield. And then it comes around to the intake side on the back. But look at how much space you have under here. It is a front-wheel drive bias, all-wheel drive system. When you do opt to have the CRV with all-wheel drive, you can see the engine mount connected to the passenger side, holding the engine up. Serpentine belt and alternator, they are on the passenger side as well, because it's a transversely mounted platform. But your reservoirs are throughout, your batteries on the driver's side, and this actually has iVTEC, which stands for Imperatively Very Tall Engine Coolant. So that's a pretty high-tech engine. Makes 190 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and a whopping 179 foot-pound-feet of the twisty stuff at 1,700 RPM. Although it's a good engine, I kind of wish Honda went with the naturally aspirated route of the CRVs of the previous generations. Let's drop the hood. Time for my favorite part. I get to time travel and teleport you to one of my favorite roads. We'll see how it drives, we'll see how fast it is on GPS, and then we'll meet back here for my final thoughts. Initial driving impressions of the new CRV. It feels very much like a Honda. The little 1.5 liter engine, it does an okay job. I think personally I'd rather this have the old K24 or something naturally aspirated. But it's comfortable. Visibility is really good being a Honda product. And you know that you're gonna be extremely safe with all the safety features and 5-star crash test rating that this has. You can fit full-size adults in the back seat. My backpack's having a good time, contrasting well against the lighter tan colored leather. And it's just easy to get comfortable in this. And I really like these joystick styled vents. They're easy to use, it's straightforward. The screen doesn't protrude into your visibility. You can see right over that thing. It's kind of like the screen in my 23 Mazda Miata. Side mirrors, they do their job. The rear view mirror does as well. It goes right through the center of this sub 16-foot compact crossover. The leather wrapped wheel is nice, although I wish for almost 40 grand it was heated. Otherwise, nice storage compartments all throughout. And it's pretty quiet driving in here. The wind's not too bad today, but the interior of the vehicle is pretty quiet. The stock speakers even sound pretty good for this vehicle too, between that and just how well insulated the cabin is. Going up a little bit of a hill, let's give it some more gas. Like if you had to get around a tractor or a semi or something on a country road like this. What I'm upset about is that all-wheel drive isn't standard, that you have to pay an extra $1,500 when the CRV is already fairly expensive in the class that this competes against, things like the CX-5, the Rav4, and the Subaru Forester. But because it's a Honda, it's anticipated that it's going to last for several 100,000 miles with only basic maintenance. And I hope that stands true with this CVT and this tiny 1.5 liter turbo engine. That's like the size that GM is using these days. It handles bumps in the road pretty good. With around 8 inches of ground clearance, you feel like you could do what you need to do. You could take this on a light trail, get to a trailhead. You could take it through the winter. Tires are always the biggest variable for how well you're gonna do in inclement weather and compliant surfaces. Brakes, at about 1/3 of a pedal. They do exactly what they need to do. And it handles pretty well going around a corner. But what happens if there's a moose in the road and you have to change direction in a hurry? At 20 miles an hour, there's a lot of body roll, but nothing out of the ordinary, nothing surprising for this class of vehicle. It's a unibody. The suspension is soft and squishy. It's to help it be comfortable for the 99% of the driving you're doing in a straight line. And with that said, let's teleport to the private road and we'll do a 0 to 60. 0 to 60, traction's off, we're in normal mode, brake rev the CVT, let's go. True 0 to 60 came in at 9 seconds even without rollout. It's a little bit faster. Here's the graph, and then my final thoughts. My final thoughts of the all-new Honda CRV is overall, I think it's a very worthwhile value. It's spacious, safe, fairly economical, even in the non-hybrid, but most importantly, it's a Honda CRV, a vehicle that's been proven as safe and reliable for literally decades up until this point, and I think it competes fairly against the more sporty and better priced Mazda CX-5, the more popular Rav4, and the better priced and all-wheel drive system that the Subaru Forester offers. Overall, I don't really have a lot to knock it for, and what ultimately matters are your thoughts and opinions. So comment below your thoughts and opinions and ownership experiences, if you don't mind, so that other people can read that and be a better potential buyer, be a more informed consumer. Anyways, if you like this video, please consider liking this video if you haven't already. That helps it to get shared. That's the only thing I ask. Subscribe if you want to watch more. I always post at least once or twice a week, and I hope to see you on the next one. Until then, take care.